Are you a hands-on kinesthetic learner and you want to learn some study tips to be able to retain more information for tests? You're in the right place. Hi, I'm Janice and you're watching Sharp Cookie. On this channel, I give you the best advice on studying, learning, and test taking. I post new videos every week, so please remember to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. On this channel, you always get real tips from a real tutor. So today we're going to be talking about kinesthetic learning style. There are 4 different types of learning styles. Those are kinesthetic, audio, visual, and verbal. So most people have one dominant learning style, but they might have a couple other ones sprinkled in as well. So this is specifically for kinesthetic learners, but if you're another type, or maybe your student or your child is a different type, I'm also making videos on all the different types, so be sure to check those out and you can learn about all of the styles. A kinesthetic learner is a natural doer. They like getting up and just doing things. So they have a really hard time sitting for long periods in a classroom. They're really good at sports and activities. They like to do labs, for example, in science. They would rather just get up and do the experiment than read it in a book or hear a lecture about it. Also, kinesthetic learners tend to be good at anything involving movement, not just sports. So they might be really good dancers, or they might be a good mechanic and just good with their hands. Okay, now here are my 8 tips for kinesthetic learners. Tip number 1 is use note cards. So I have nothing against Quizlet and other similar apps where you can quiz yourself on your phone. I think they're great and they serve a purpose. But for kinesthetic learners especially, the more you can make things physical, the more you can hold them in your hand, the easier it will be for you to learn and remember. So for kinesthetic learners and my own students that are kinesthetic learners, I encourage them to always write down and make physical note cards. Tip number 2, take active breaks. So breaks are good for everyone. There's a lot of research in this field, and the generally recommended thing that most of these scientists and researchers say is that for every 20 minutes of work, you should give yourself a 5-minute break. And I encourage this for all learners, but for kinesthetic learners, my recommendation is to take an active break. So when you take this break, get up and move around. Walk outside for a couple minutes. Do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, stretch, do a few yoga poses, whatever you like to do. But just make sure you're physical and you're moving around. Tip number 3, always relate what you're learning to real life experiences. So I'm going to give you some examples, but kinesthetic learners like things physical and concrete. So for example, maybe you're learning how to calculate area. So why not go home and calculate the area of your living room or your bedroom? This is a way that you can learn and still be physical. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to get up and move around. It could also mean, for example, let's say you're in a business class and you're learning about mergers and acquisitions. A kinesthetic learner would do really well if you looked up maybe some articles online on actual mergers and acquisitions that are happening now. Or maybe you're learning about proportions and ratios. Think about how can you relate that to an activity like cooking, for example, and see if you can make the connections in your mind between what you're learning and an activity. Tip number 4 is study with others. So something I do with all my kinesthetic learners is I like to play a physical game with them while they're learning. So for example, if you're a kinesthetic learner, find a partner, a study buddy, a parent, and have them do an activity with you while you're learning. So here's a couple you can try. One is get a beanbag or a stress ball or a pillow and throw it back and forth. So I like to do this with mental math exercises. I'll kind of quiz my kids on times tables or whatever it is we're learning. And as we do it, we throw a beanbag back and forth. So that is an excellent activity. Tip number 5, have something to keep your hands or feet busy while you study. Now, chances are, if you're a kinesthetic learner, you might be already doing this. You might be tapping your pencil while you study, or fidgeting your feet, or swinging your chair back and forth, or swinging your legs. These are very typical things that kinesthetic learners do. And they're not trying to distract students in the classroom or be disruptive. It's actually helping them learn. So if you're a teacher, allow kids to do this, or allow them to have a fidget spinner in the classroom. And if you're a student, don't be embarrassed if this is you. This is actually helping you learn. So there's a lot of things you can purchase online that'll work. So besides fidget spinners, there's worry beads, you can squeeze a stress ball, you can get these platforms on Amazon to put under your feet. They're called balance boards, and they kind of let your feet balance up and down. You can roll tennis balls underneath your foot. I've seen people get foam rollers and roll a foam roller under their feet as well. So there's a lot of different things you can use to keep your hands and feet busy while you study. Tip number 6, be active while you study. So if you're going to the gym, grab your note cards, bring them with you, prop them up on the elliptical or the treadmill, whatever you're doing, and study while your body is physically active. Or go for a walk and take your note cards with you. You could even chew gum while you study, because that's actively doing something, even though it's your mouth and not your whole body. It really does help. They found that chewing gum while studying really improves the learning process. So however you want to do it, find a way to move some part of your body while you're studying. You can even pace around your bedroom. That will work. Tip number 7 is teach. I talked about teaching in my video for verbal learners, and kinesthetic learners could also benefit from teaching. So find a partner, find a friend, a sibling, parent, family member, and you can even do this on the phone. Just call them up and say, hey, I'd like to teach you XYZ that I learned in class. And just by verbalizing it and saying it out loud, you're going to learn more. And because you're a kinesthetic learner, you're going to be more engaged and interested in the learning process, because you're not just sitting back and receiving information. My last tip, tip number 8. This one is act or trace. So I'll give you a few examples. Maybe you're learning geometry and math. Just use your finger and trace out the shapes. So do you see how you're getting your body and movement involved in the learning process? Another example would be for acting. So maybe in history class, you're learning about a certain political figure or a figure from history. Get into character and act that person out. Think about what they would say. If they made a speech, actually verbalize the things that they said. Maybe try to pretend you have their mannerisms, get in their body. And that's going to let you learn more. Again, the more you can get active and get in your body while you're learning, the better off you are. All right, that's all I got for today. Those are my 8 tips for kinesthetic learners. If this helped you and you're interested in connecting with other people who are really into learning and studying and improving these skills in themselves, make sure to join our online community. It's called Sharp Cookie. It's on Facebook. I'm going to drop the link below. Would love for you guys to join. I'm going to be very active, and I will give you all my best advice to any questions that you have for yourself, or maybe for a student or for a child. The other thing I'm offering is private tutoring online. If this is something you're interested in, go ahead and email me at hellosharpcookie@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and just explain what your needs are and talk about the whole process. Now that you've learned about kinesthetic learners, be sure to watch my other videos in this series. I have a video on activities, interactive games and activities that are really great for kinesthetic learners. I also have videos on other types of learning styles like verbal, visual, and auditory. So make sure to check those out, learn about all the different styles. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Throw me some likes, throw me some comments, and of course subscribe, because I post videos every week and they're always really valuable to your life. I want you to be a better learner, and we're all lifelong learners. Learning never stops. I've never stopped learning. In fact, I think I learn more now than even when I was in school. So that's all I have. I'm Janice. You're watching Sharp Cookie.